Okay. Hello everyone. Good evening and welcome to week 4 of our live interactive sessions for the course on integrated waste management for a smart city offered through NPTEL. And I am Sethi Vinayagam, a PhD scholar in the Department of Civil Engineering at IIT Madras. Right, so we'll continue with our problem solving sessions. So we'll start with an overview of what were the concepts that were covered in the lectures for week 4. So again, we had five different lectures. So the first of them, we continued with the solid waste management rules of 2016, right? So in the last lecture of previous week, we started with the different duties and responsibilities as listed out in the solid waste management rules for the different waste generators. And in this week, we continued that with by looking at the what are the responsibilities of different ministries and other government authorities. And then we also looked at what are the different criteria for setting up different waste treatment and other management facilities. And we followed that up with the overview of the Switchbar mission and the Smart Cities program and how it is related to our what is its relevance for the waste management program and what we are studying in terms of the solid waste management. Then we moved to the different types of storage containers and its use. So we looked at the collection and the transportation part, right, in the rest of the week. So lecture 18 covered about the storage containers. How do we store the waste at the site? And then in lecture 19, we looked at different collection equipments and also the different types of collection systems. And in the final lecture for week 4, we looked at different concepts such as pay as you throw, and also how we can fund the different collection systems. And also we looked at one type of calculation for estimating how much waste will be generated, right, from particular area. So we looked at one numerical related to that in the end of lecture 20, right? So we will look at some questions related to these concepts. So the first question is, which of the following is a duty of the Ministry of Urban Development according to the Solid Waste Management Rules of 2016? So the options are formulation of national policy and strategy on solid waste management, including policy on waste to energy. Option B, set up laboratories to test the quality of compost produced. C, ensure purchase of power generated from waste to energy plants by distribution company. D, none of these. Right. So if you remember from the lectures on the different duties for the different ministries, the you will know that the answer is option A, because the Ministry of Urban Development is responsible with respect to the formulation of the national policy and coming up with strategies for solid waste management. So that also includes waste to energy. Whereas the other two, if you look at it, B is setting up laboratories, so for testing the compost quality. So this is actually the duty of the Ministry of Agriculture. Whereas C is related to power generation from waste to energy plants, and that is the duty of the Ministry of Power. Right. So the right answer is only option A, which is for the Ministry of Urban Development. Okay. Moving on to question number two. This is with respect to the solid waste generation rate that we saw in the last lecture of this week. So we have a similar problem here. So in a given transfer station, recordings from observation scale for 2 consecutive weeks from a residential area are given as follows. So we have the observations taken in 2 consecutive weeks. So the first week we saw 10 truckloads, each having a volume of 20 cubic meters, and the total amount of waste that was brought in these 10 truckloads were 45,000 kilograms. And in the following week we had 8 truckloads with the same volume, but the total weight was 35,000 kilograms. And this wastes were generated from or brought from a residential area that had 3,000 homes, where there were 3 people on average per home. So the question is, what is the rate of solid waste generation in kilogram per capita per day? So we have four options: 1.7 kilogram per capita per day, 1.3, 8.9, and 9. So before I solve it, I would like to encourage you to attempt to solve this question by yourself. And once you try it, we'll see what is the solution. So while you're solving it, I'll quickly create a poll. So once you finish solving it, you can answer in the poll. Please take a minute or two to solve it. Okay, so there is only one answer in pole so far. I think it's a simple enough calculation. So if you are not able to find the pole, at least use the chat, and you can, yeah, maybe use the chat to post your answer. Okay, so we have an answer in the chat as well. Yeah, okay. So I had two answers, so both saying it as option B 1.3. So that is correct. So B is the right answer. So we'll for those of you who could not solve it, I'll try to show how it is done. Okay, so first we'll start with what information has been given to us. So we are given with uh, for 2 weeks the amount of waste that has been brought to our transfer station, right? So first we will say what is the total quantity of waste that we have got, right? So in week one we got 45,000 kilograms, and in week two we got 35,000 kilograms, right? So that gives us a total of 80,000 kilograms. So this is the total quantity of waste that is generated for 2 weeks. And then we also need to know what is the total population in the area from where this waste was collected, right? And that we know there are 3,000 households, and per households there is on average there are three people, right? So that gives us a total of 9,000 people in that particular residential area. So now we want to know what is the rate of waste generation. So what is the rate of waste generation? It will be the total quantity of waste divided by the total population, right? So that will give us what is the waste generated per capita, right? So that is equal to the total quantity is 80,000, right? So kilograms divided by what is the total population? It is 9,000. So what is the unit here? It is kilograms per capita per week. Okay, so it is just a second. So it is 80,000 divided by 9,000. So that is the kilogram per capita per week. So, but what? So this will come out to be around 8.9 kilograms per capita per week. But the question asks, what is the unit is kilogram per capita per day. So to move from per capita to per day, so we should divide this by 7. So that will give us in kilogram per capita per day, right? So if you simplify that, you will get approximately 1.3. You will get 1.27 or something. So that is approximately 1.3 kilograms per capita per day. Okay, any questions? So you should be careful with the units.
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, so here is question 3. So we have a table. So on the first column we have the different ministries, and in the second column we have the some of the duties for these different ministries. But we have to match which is the duty for the correct. We have to match the correct department with the correct duty. Right? We have four options. So the ministries are the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy Source, the Ministry of Agriculture, and the Ministry of Power. And the different duties are ensure the purchase of power generated from waste to energy plants by the distribution companies, provide appropriate subsidy or incentives for waste to energy plants, and ensure promotion of co-marketing of compost with chemical fertilizers in the ratio of 3 to 4 bags to 6 to 7 bags. Right? So if we again if you remember from the lecture for the different ministries, we'll know that for the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy Source, the duty is to provide appropriate subsidy or the incentives for the waste energy plant. And for the Ministry of Agriculture, it will be to ensure the promotion of co-marketing of compost. And for the Ministry of Power, it will be to ensure the purchase of power generated from these different waste to energy plants. Right. So that correct match is given in option A. Right. So Ministry of Energy, New and Energy is option 2. Agriculture is for option 3, and Ministry of Power is for option 1. Okay, so and the other duties for these different ministries are for power. We have also they'll also have to decide on what will be the tariff for the charges that will be collected for the power generated from these waste energy plants. And for the Ministry of Agriculture, they will also have to provide flexibility in the fertilizer control order. They have to also propagate the utilization of these composts on the farmlands, and also set up laboratories to test the quality of the compost. And for the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy Source, they will also have to facilitate the infrastructure creation in addition to providing subsidies. Okay, so with that, we'll move to question 4. Here we have again three different departments, and we'll have to match these departments with respect to what is the deadline or the review period for implementing the different rules at the various levels. Right. So we have first district collector to review on the performance of the local authority. Then the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change for the Central Monitoring Committee. And then the Secretary in charge for the urban development for the state level advisory committee. So we have three options: yearly period, half yearly period, and quarterly period. So if we again remember from our lectures, so for the district collector to review the performance on of local authorities, it should be done at a quarterly period. And for the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change, it should be done at a yearly level. And then for the state secretary in charge, it will be done at a half yearly period, right? So that correct match is given in option B. So 1 with 3, 2 with 1, and then 3 with 2, right? So this is from the lecture, right? So we have different time periods for different activities. So for the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, it should be done at every year. Also for the Central Monitoring Committee. For district collectors, it is at a quarterly period. For the state pollution control boards and PCC, the rules have to be implemented on a half yearly basis. And then for the secretary in charge also at a half yearly basis. Right. Okay. So question 5 is, which of the following waste should be considered for waste to energy process? So option A is recyclable waste with a calorific value of 1500 kilocalories per kg. B is non-recyclable waste with a calorific value of 1500 kilocalories per kg. And C and D again recyclable and non-recyclable waste respectively with 500 kilocalories per kg. Okay, so which of these is the correct answer? Which of these type of waste should be used for waste to energy process according to the solid waste management rules of 2016? Okay, so we have an answer B. Any other answers?
It is B, sir, non-recyclable waste having calorific value of more than 1500 kilocalorie kg.
Yeah, so B is the right answer. So the solid waste management rules specify that we should any non-recyclable waste with 1500 or more kilocalories per kg only should be used for waste to energy processes, right? So anything less than that, we will not be using that because we will not have much of energy, and we are not having an adequate energy content in those ways, so we will not be using that. So it should have at least 1500 kilocalories per kilogram, right? So and also it should be non-recyclable. If it's recyclable, we'll go for recycling, right? All right. So moving on to question six, the Swachh Bharat mission emanates from the vision of the government articulated in the address of the President of India in his address to the joint session of the Parliament in which year? So we have four options: 2016, 2010, 2014, and 2009. So in which year did
It is, sir, 2016.
okay, so any other answer?
No, it is 14, sir.
Yes, it is in 14.
Yes, sir.
So 14 is the right answer. And in June of 2014 was when this particular address of the president mentioned in this question took place. Right? So in 2014 it was started so that we'll realize the Swachh Bharat mission by the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi in 2019, right? So it was started in 2014 so that we'll reach that goal by 2019. All right. So question number seven: which of the following is not an objective of the Swachh Bharat mission? So we have four options: promote landfilling for all types of municipal solid waste, generate awareness about the sanitation and its linkage with public health, modern and scientific municipal solid waste management, and the elimination of open defecation.
It is A, promote landfill for all type of municipal solid waste management.
Yeah, so it is option A. So that is not an objective. So we don't want to be promoting landfill, right? So we want to limit landfilling as much as possible, right? So because it's not very sustainable to always keep dumping our waste. So we want to go for other strategies for our to reduce our quantity of waste that is going to go for the landfill. So option A is clearly not an objective for any waste management strategies, specifically for Swachh Bharat as well. Whereas B, C, and D are all objectives laid out in this Swachh Bharat mission. We need to create public awareness, right, about sanitation and how it's going to affect public health. And we want to also practice modern and scientific processes for municipal solid waste and also eliminate open defecation in the country, right? So here is the snapshot of the different mission objectives. So we have elimination of open defecation, eradication of manual scavenging, modern and scientific municipal solid waste, to affect behavioral change regarding the health sanitation practices, generate awareness about sanitation, capacity augmentation, and also to create enabling environment for the private sector also to participate in capital expenditures. Okay, so question 8. So which of the following ministry is responsible for implementing the smart city mission in collaboration with the state governments? So we have Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, Union Ministry of Urban Development, Ministry of Agriculture, and Ministry of Power. So this was the other program that we saw in the lectures, right? So one was Swachh Bharat, the other one is the smart city mission. But which ministry is responsible for implementing it?
It's Union Ministry of Urban Development, sir.
Yeah, it is the Union Ministry of Urban Development. So that is correct. Question 9. Which are the criteria and actions that can be taken for solid waste management in the hilly areas? So from now on, we will be dealing with multiple select questions, so where more than one option could be correct. So the options are: construction of the landfill on the hill shall be preferred. Transfer station should be constructed at suitable enclosed locations for collection of residual and inert waste. Step garden system may be adopted for optimum utilization of the hill space, and suitable space shall be allocated for setting up of decentralized waste processing facility. So which of these uh, are the correct criteria and actions? with respect to hilly areas.
It is D. Suitable space should be allocated for setting up the decentralized waste processing facility.
Okay. Do you think anything else? Any other option could be correct?
So C and D.
Yeah, C and D. Step garden system. Okay. All right. We have quite a few answers saying B, C, and D. So in fact, all those three options B, C, and D are correct. So again, recall from our lecture. So all these three are uh, different actions that are suitable, are required to be taken for managing the solid waste in the hilly areas. So, but we won't go for landfilling in the hilly areas, right? So it is not. It's not preferred because one, you will not find, it's very difficult to construct landfills on the hilly terrains, right? So we have to find land. Also, we don't want to contaminate those areas, right? So we do not prefer to construct landfills in hills. So we'll set up transfer stations, or we'll go for step garden systems, or a decentralized processing facilities. Okay, question 10. Which of the following are the Swachh Bharat mission components? So, A. Household, community, and public toilets. B. Information, education, and communication, and also public awareness. C. Solid waste management. And D. Research on the presence of plastics in water and wastewater.
It is D. The research on presence of plastic in water and wastewater.
Okay, so here we're talking about which are included in Swachh Bharat mission.
Sir, all A, B, and C, sir.
Okay, A, B, and
A and
C.
C. I want to say A, B, and C. D is not there.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Any other answers? So we have one more answer, A and B. Okay. What about others? Okay, so it's actually all the three A, B, and C are components of the Swachh Bharat mission. So we both households, community, public toilets. We'll also deal with information, education, communication, and also solid waste management. Swachh Bharat mission does not talk about the research part of plastics in water and wastewater. So that is not the component that is included in Swachh Bharat mission. So here's again the list. So there is household toilets, including conversion of insanitary latrines into four-flush latrines, building community toilets, public toilets, solid waste management, so information, education, and communication, and also doing capacity building and administrative and other office expenses. Right. So it does not talk about water and wastewater, research on water and wastewater, especially for plastics, with respect to plastics. So that is not a part of Swachh Bharat mission. Okay, question 11. Which of the following are smart solutions for smart city mission? So, A. Recycling and reduction of construction and demolition waste, wastewater treatment, open dumping of municipal solid waste, energy efficient and green buildings. Again, we looked at different areas, right, of concerning a smart city, right, and there are different solutions that are covered in these different areas. So, which of these are included in those as part of those smart solutions?
Sir, B and D.
B and D. Okay, we have a couple of answers in the chat. A, B, and D. Okay, A, B, and D. Yeah. So as most of you have correctly said, it is A, B, and D, right? So C is not a solution, not just a smart solution. It's not a solution at all for solid waste. We don't want to do open dumping, right? So that's not preferred at all. So, and also obviously it's not a smart solution. So all three, A, B, and D, are actually part of smart solutions laid out for the smart city mission. So if you remember it, so we had six different categories or areas that we are trying to address. So one is the with respect to e-governance, where we'll be looking at providing public information, electronic service deliveries, and engaging citizens as well. And with respect to energy management, we'll be doing smart meters, renewable energy sources, the efficient, energy efficient green buildings. With respect to mobility and transportation, so we are looking at smart parking systems, intelligent traffic management, and integrated multimodal transportation. So, with respect to waste management, we have the recycling as well as the reduction of construction and demolition waste, as well as the other strategies such as waste to energy, waste to compost, and also wastewater treatment. And with respect to waste management, with respect to water management, so we have the smart meters, again leakage identification, water quality monitoring, and there are other solutions such as telemedicine, incubation, and skill development. So these are the broad areas and some of the specific components or specific areas that are included as part of the smart city mission. Okay, so question 12, which of the following statements are true for pay as you throw concept? So we have two different ways in which we could collect, or we could charge the users, right? So one is the weight based, and the other is the volume based. So if we go for so the option A is, if you go for volume based service, it provides less incentive to reduce the waste. B is weight based services, less incentive to reduce the waste. And C and D are with respect to the cost. So volume based service is more expensive. D is weight based service is more expensive. So between the two, which is providing less incentive to the users in terms of reducing their waste generation, and with respect to cost, which of these two strategies will be more expensive in terms of the capital that is required? So there will be two answers to this, right? So one is with respect to the incentive, and the other is with respect to the expense. So which one is which?
So A and D.
A and D. Fine. Are there any other thoughts?
Sir, B and C.
Okay, we have opposite of that, B and C. Okay. A and D. Okay, so the correct answer is A and D. So we'll see with respect to first how volume based or weight based is going to influence people with respect to waste generation, right? So when we go for volume based service, what happens? So the volume is fixed, right? So the amount of trash that can be that the people can dump, so that is more or less fixed, right? So we have a particular volume of trash can that people already have, in which they are going to dump it. So when we look at volume base, what people can do is they'll try to add as much waste as possible. So they'll try to compress it, right? So all these cardboard boxes and other things, so which can be compressed. So people will try to compress those things and then try to reduce the volume of the waste that they are generating, right? So that way they can put more waste in that same volume. So that's because they are going to pay the same amount, but they can add more waste in that same volume. So that is not going to, so that is providing less incentive for people to reduce waste, right? So because volume can be compressed. Whereas if you go for the weight-based service, so regardless of how much you're going to compress, the weight is not going to change, right? It's going to become more dense, but the weight is going to remain the same. So when you are generating more waste, the weight is always going to increase, and you will always have to pay more, right? If you are going to charge based on the weight, right? So that will mean that people will now think about generating less waste, because they'll have to pay more if they are going to generate more waste. So that's the advantage of you going for a weight based service, right? Therefore option A is correct, because volume based is providing less incentive to reduce the waste, whereas weight based service will actually make people to reduce their waste. So with respect to the administration side, right? So we have to implement that. So for volume-based service, we don't have to. It's not very expensive, because we just know the standard sizes, right? So we always collect from the same set of trash cans, or people buy those prepaid bags. So their volume is already fixed. So that is not going to be so we already know how much of the waste volume is generated from these standard things. So that's not more expensive to set up. Whereas if you go for a weight-based service, because we need to charge people based on the weight of the waste that is generated, we need to also have mechanism to measure the weight, right? So to do that, we need more sophisticated equipment, along with our the waste collectors have to now have the some equipment for measuring this weight, right? So that is going to add up to the cost that we are going to incur to set up these servers. So that means it's going to be more costly as compared to a volume based service. So the advantage is there in terms of providing incentive to people to not generate more waste, but the downside is that it's going to be costlier to set up and maintain, right? So that is the trade-off that we are making when we are going for the volume based or the weight based service. Okay, so question number 13. Which of the following are the duties of the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers according to the SWM rules of 2016? Option A is propagate the utilization of compost on farmland. Option B is to decide the tariffs or charges for the power generated from the waste to energy plants based on the solid waste. C is to provide a market for the development of assistance on city compost. And D is to ensure that the fertilizer companies actually make compost available for the marketing to the companies. So by now you would have known the different duties, right? At least from the question that we have seen already.
So it is A, C, and D.
A, C, and D. Okay. Here we are talking only about the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. Specific to that particular ministry, what are the duties?
It is D, sir.
D. Okay.
Yeah.
We have an answer in the chat. A and D. So that's A, C, and D. Okay. Again, when we these multiple select questions, right? So they can also have a single answer. So it is one or more. It's not always necessary that you'll have. If it is a multiple select question, you have to. It will always be more than one. It could be single answer as well. So you'll have to be careful about that. Okay, C. We have an answer C. Okay. Okay, so the correct answer is actually C and D. So options C and D are for the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. They have to provide a market development assistance based on the compost that is prepared from the city waste, and also they have to ensure that the fertilizer companies will make the compost available for marketing to the different companies. Right. So all these two are assigned for the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, whereas option A is, as we saw earlier, so it's the duty of the Ministry of Agriculture, so to propagate the utilization of compost on farmland. And B is with respect to power generation from the waste energy, so that is the duty of the Ministry of Power. Right, so those two are not for chemicals and fertilizers, so A and B are eliminated, whereas C and D are part of the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. Right, so it can be a little confusing, right? So because the some of these are very similar in terms of what is required, so it may sometimes confuse which ministry is for which, but you go through it for a couple of times, you'll understand so which ministry takes care of which duty. Okay, so any questions? Okay, so those are the set of questions that I have for this particular week. So we didn't have much of um, a technical content this time. So it was mostly dealing with the rules for the two lectures, and then we looked at um, the collection and the different equipments for collection and also for storage. So didn't have much with respect to that. So from next week again, we'll see different concepts. So before we close this session, I just wanted to know how do you feel about these interactive sessions. So is it useful with respect to your assignments? Is it helping you to solve the assignments? So how do you feel about these sessions? So I'll just quickly create a poll to check this
Absolutely
out.
satisfied, sir.
Sorry. Okay. And if you have any suggestions on how we could improve it, so you could also let me know. So I'll try to incorporate that in future sessions. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, happy to know that it's useful. Yeah, and also you could, if you have any other questions before we meet for the next sessions, also please make use of the discussion board. Right. So from the Swayam portal, you'll be able to access the discussion forum, so where you can post your questions. So that will also help other people who will have similar questions, right? So we could have discussions there, and it will help a larger set of people. So your same doubts other people might also have. So make use of the discussion forum as well. Yeah, if you have any suggestions on how we can make this more interesting, or um, what what kind of questions that you would like to see, so you can also let me know, and I'll try to modify the sessions accordingly for the from the next week onwards. Yeah, for reference book on the course on the portal homepage of this course, you'll yeah the reference books are listed, so you'll find it there. Any other questions or clarifications that you need before we can wind up? Okay, discussion on real life case studies of ULBs. Yeah, I think that will be covered as part of the lecture. So in the future weeks, so we will actually see some case studies And with respect to actually the smart city programs, right? So, or the Switchbar and smart city. So, some case studies will be included in the future lectures. Yeah, again for syllabus, again if you go to the home page of this course in the Swayam portal, again the reference books, the syllabus will all be available there. You'll find it. Okay, so there is a query to explain the calculation. Okay, so let me just go to that particular slide. Okay, so the question asks us to calculate the rate of solid waste generation, right? So in kilogram per capita per day. So you want to know how much waste is generated by a single person in a in a single day, right? So we want to know on an average how much waste is going to be generated by a person in a day, right? So that we can apply that rate to calculate what will be the waste generated at a future time period, say for example. So if suppose this 3,000 homes is going to become 5,000 homes, say in 5 years down the line. So what will be the waste generated at that time? So to know that, we will need to know what is the per capita rate, right? So how do we calculate that? So to do that, we need to know two information. What is the total waste that is being generated currently, and what is the total population uh, that is currently residing in this area. So for the first information, to know the total quantity, so we are given the amount or the quantity of waste that is coming to this particular transfer station. So in the first week, we are told that 10 truckloads are coming. So and that is carrying a total of 45,000 kilograms. So actually, this number of truckloads and the volume is not necessary for our case, because we already know the total weight that is coming in. But still, this information is given, but that is not really required. So we know that 45,000 kilogram of waste came in the first week, and in the second week, 35,000 kilograms came, right? So the total quantity of waste that has come to this transfer station is the sum of these two, right? So in the 2 weeks, we got about 80,000 kilograms of waste. And we are also told that there are 3,000 homes with an average of 3 people per home. So if we take the product of these two, so in each home, on an average, there are going to be 3 people residing, and there are 3,000 homes. So the product of those two, 3,000 into 3, is 9,000 people that are residing in this particular area, right? So from this 9,000 people, we got 80,000 kilograms of waste in 2 weeks. So to calculate the waste generation, we will divide the total quantity of the waste that is generated by the total population in that particular area. So the total quantity is 80,000 kilograms, and the total population is 9,000 people, right? So that is kilograms per capita per week, right? So 80,000 kilogram by 9,000, that is kilogram per capita per week, and that is about 8.9 kilograms uh, per capita per week. But the question is asking what is the rate per day, right? So because we have it in per a week, we need to divide that by 7, so that we will convert it from per week to per day. So that is about 1.3 kilogram per capita per day. Is that clear, sir? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if there are no further questions, we will close the session here. I'll just wait for a couple of more minutes if anybody else has any further questions. So if you have no further questions, you can leave the call, and we'll meet again next week, same time, 6 o'clock. Thank you for joining. We'll meet again.